If you grew up in the 1960s and 70s, it's possible that you, like I, had a morbid fear of being trapped in quicksand. Quicksand was a ubiquitous motif in that era's movies and TV shows. I knew that it was vitally important not to struggle because the more frantically you flailed about in quicksand, the faster you would sink in, and only a last ghastly bubble would indicate where you had been. And if I'd been in charge of public safety and education, I would certainly have made sure that quicksand preparedness was at the top of every public policy agenda. But as the 70s went along, the disaster movies showed me that there were bigger problems than quicksand. Sharks, upended cruise ships, nuclear meltdown, towering infernos, airplanes that can't land, meteors, swarms, earthquakes, tidal waves, hurricanes, extraterrestrial viruses, runaway trains in the Alps. It was a simpler time before I understood compound interest. Hello, Vedge heads. You're listening to Vedge Your Best, the plant-based podcast. My name is Michelle Olander. I'm a certified life coach, a practicing vegan, and I'm here to try and convince you to show up, eat more plants, and not wait a single second longer to set an impossible goal, whatever that is for you. Episode 12, where we ask, are you compounding the problem or compounding the solution? So there's this famous and probably apocryphal aphorism credited to Albert Einstein that the most powerful force in the universe is compound interest. So compound interest is when the interest you earn on a balance in a savings account, an investing account, whatever, is reinvested, earning you more interest. Compound interest accelerates the growth of your savings and investments over time. Conversely, it also expands the debt balances you owe over time on your credit cards, student loans, and other consumer debt. My first grown-up job out of college was in banking, which was not enjoyable, but it was certainly an early influence and discipline. And though banking has changed enormously, don't even get me started, since the mid-1980s, banking is still very much an industry that works by turning the drama of money and the stories individuals and companies and governments have about money to a pretty cut and dried math problem. In coaching, we say, if you take away the drama from money, you've got math. Right now, interest rates on investments are so low that maybe compound interest seems kind of like a quaint notion. But consumer debt, like credit cards, charge compounding interest, and our outstanding balances can quickly skyrocket if we're not paying attention. As Einstein also probably did not say, he who understands compounding interest earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. The reality is that even one small change can have a significant impact that causes unexpected and maybe unintended ripple effects. So we are at the moment, and this happens a lot in my podcast, right? Okay, Michelle, that's moderately interesting, but what has that got to do with plant-based eating? That means you're paying attention, which is very gratifying. But hold on, my friend. The reality is that even one small change can have an significant impact, and you can be the master that sets that change in motion to support any goal you want. The concept of compounding has been extended to many other parts of human activity beyond money. And not long ago, the author Darren Hardy wrote a very energetic, very quick read called The Compound Effect. The compound effect's thesis is that baby steps, thoughtful, incremental, small steps, can vastly simplify even the most ambitious goals. Small steps, added together, taken consistently, and compounded over time, will magnify and create any goal you choose. And rather than start with a large goal or even a moderate one, it can be so much more efficient and effective to break any goal into small, extremely small, manageable steps. The compound effect, the concept of it, it illustrates how very small positive actions, if executed diligently, can lead to astonishing achievements. But so often we'll look at those tiny steps, those micro steps, and we'll discount them as silly or insufficient. As much as I am absolutely sold on the power of small steps, actually there are programs called Small Stepping, Tiny Habits, Atomic Habits. There are programs with all these titles, and I will link to them in the notes. But as much as I 100% teach and have implemented small steps and seen them compound to great results in my life as well, I am still prone to dismissing them. Read 5 pages a day? How is that going to help? Well, it doesn't when I don't do it. So, my friend Meg inspired me a long time ago every year to read the Booker Prize long list. It's a prize for new fiction in English. And okay, last year I did not read Duck's Newburyport. And if you read it, please email me because I want to congratulate you. But anyway, every single year, suddenly I have the backlog of these books on my bedstand, and I'm really behind, and I notice there is no way I can possibly read them. And then I just throw up my arms and decide, okay, 5 minutes or 5 pages, whichever comes first. And somehow, every year, I get through them. And yes, I am really behind again this year, but I have been getting through them with these commitments to small increments of reading. And yes, I usually read more than 5 pages or 5 minutes once I start. And once I start, it all becomes much more manageable, not to mention much more enjoyable. In my case, when I get behind, I actually spend more time and energy bemoaning the fact that I can't get more reading done than actually reading. And as you know, I talk to a lot of people, and I am apparently not alone. Maybe you're there with me. So this idea of compounding, it works to amplify positive results, and it also works to magnify results we don't want. That's just math. So you and I know that there are people who take to a plant-based or vegan diet overnight. But there are some of us who are really quite desperate to eat plant-based for health reasons, who know that a whole food plant-based diet could help reduce inflammation, cholesterol, blood pressure, gastrointestinal discomfort, arthritis, neuropathy, obesity, premature aging, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and yet it's not going so well. I would love to wave a magic wand, but until someone gives me a magic wand to wave, I am offering you the power of compounding. What small steps could you make today and every day? Really small steps. And if you say, well, that's not enough, maybe, but you're not doing any of it consistently now, right? So maybe it would actually be better. I have seen it over and over. Not enough, compounded by time, can be a lot of improvement. And doing nothing, compounded by time, well, that's not just staying still. It can actually mean losing ground, losing muscle tone, losing opportunities. Not the future we were aiming for. And that's not just for my clients who are trying to limit or eliminate animal products. There are also extremely diligent vegans who never eat animal products, but they have been, overindulging in vegan junk food or high-fat foods, and they want to up-level the quality of foods that they're consuming. If you believed you could do it, you would have done it by now, right? So if you're feeling stuck, it's because somewhere in your brain, you're telling yourself it's too hard, that it's not the right time, that you don't have the support, or worst of all, that it won't work. It's never worked, and it won't last. You will never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success in any area is found in your daily routine. And your daily routine is not just actions. It's fueled by how you feel about your goal and the way you think about your goal. In a nutshell, that's what coaching is all about, helping you set a strategy in place that takes into account all those conflicting thoughts and feelings you may have about your goal, whatever it is. Take a moment to think. What are a couple of small things you do consistently that really make for a positive difference? What are you coming up with? A quick text to friends or loved ones to check in on them? Parking at the far end of the supermarket lot? Walking upstairs rather than taking the escalator? Eating a few extra greens, carrots or celery at every dinner? And what about some small things you do every day that are actually not really helping? A cookie or two before bed? French fries or potato chips with your sandwich every lunch? Extra cheese on the pizza? In The Compound Effect, Darren Hardy makes this equation: choices plus behavior plus habits plus time equals compound effect. So he says you make a choice of what you want, you add your behavior, your emotional fuel like commitment or curiosity or openness or trust. Then you add some small habits and you repeat over time. Choices plus behavior plus habits plus time equals the compound effect. Whether those choices are things that improve your health, your mind, your finances, your environment, your family, your community, that's up to you. What comes to mind right this second? What is something little you've not been doing? If you say flossing, you are in very good company because I hear that all the time. What else? What is something little you are doing that is not supporting your goals? 3 cookies instead of 1? 1 cookie every night instead of none? Eating out of the ice cream container, standing in front of the fridge? Maybe just put it in a bowl and sit down and enjoy it. That could be up-leveling things. What is a little something you could add? An extra handful of raw greens at lunch and dinner. A stick of celery. I know, your brain is starting to say that's not enough. But are you doing those things already? Meet yourself where you are, unapologetically. The Stoics, were you waiting? The Stoics were unsurprisingly big proponents of habit formation and beginning where you need to begin. No nonsense. If you want to do something, make a habit of it. If you don't want to do that, don't, but make a habit of something else instead. Epictetus. Unapologetically clear, that Epictetus. Don't just stop doing something. Have a plan to replace the habit you don't want with something you do want. But one at a time. Baby steps. Allow yourself some time to learn to really trust yourself. I guarantee that if you start looking for it, you have been experiencing the compound effect in hundreds of areas in your life. Compound effects you love, obviously, as well as those compound effects you are not so happy about. The compound effect of not deciding, feeling apathetic, ignoring, avoiding, denying over days, months, and years. That is the compound effect we can so easily fall into. And with just a minimum of discomfort, we can begin compounding a positive new choice very, very quickly. Negative emotions, discomfort, it's like that quicksand I was obsessed with as a child. The more you struggle against discomfort, against negative feelings, the further you sink into them. The trick is to allow the feelings and get curious about where those feelings are coming from. What do those negative feelings teach you or show you? And if you sit with them, they have a tendency to just pass, to lose their power over you. We're going to talk a lot more about feelings in the next couple of weeks on this podcast. You have all heard that it took me a few years to get really comfortable and confident with committing to a plant-based vegan diet. I wanted to eat that way, but I was constantly thinking it wasn't going to work with my family, my life. I thought that my husband would be annoyed, that it would complicate the things that we like to do. But as I got more and more plant-based, bit by bit, I was able to see how it maybe would work, or maybe I got more confident that I would figure out solutions to any complications as they came along. And then I was finally able to say, oh, that's it. No more animals, no more animal products. Let's get one more stoic morsel from Epictetus while we're at it. Every habit and capability is confirmed and grows in its corresponding actions, walking by walking and running by running. Therefore, if you want to do something, make a habit of it. It's not rocket science. We have a tendency to talk ourselves out of beginning because we think it will be hard, overwhelming, uncomfortable, confusing. Begin walking by walking, just a few steps. Begin running by running, just a few minutes. Begin improving your nutrition by a few extra greens. Begin improving your relationships by practicing kindness, whether you think it's completely deserved or not. When you see how easy it is to up-level your daily practices by committing to the smallest improvements, you will experience the power of deliberately implementing the compound effect. We are about to enter the holiday season in the U.S. Thanksgiving is just 2 days after this podcast is released. And yes, Thanksgiving and the winter holidays of Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's, for many of us, it's not looking exactly the way we had hoped. Not the way we're used to anyway. Same for me. If you would like to take this opportunity, these next 6 to 8 weeks to veg your best, to eat 75%, 85%, 95% whole food, plant-based through the holidays, this might actually be the perfect season to practice compounding your dietary goals and start 2021 with a new result. Let's talk. I keep every week 4 free introductory sessions open to work with people who are interested in setting an exciting new goal. Those introductory calls are always free. Just email me. The links are in the notes. And we can talk about helping you put together a personalized plan to support your goal for the next 2 months. Veg Your Best podcast, production, music and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So until next week, make it easy, and this Thanksgiving, just veg your best.